Welcome, curious minds, to the deep dive. Today, we're plunging headfirst into a character that really redefines chaos in a beloved universe.
Oh, yeah. Who are we talking about?
Imagine a being so ancient, so utterly unpredictable, and just fundamentally different from any antagonist that came before.
Okay, intriguing.
It single-handedly forced heroes and, honestly, the whole narrative to evolve. We're talking pure, unadulterated destruction, personified,
Right.
and unleashed upon a world that was just completely unprepared for its unique brand of terror. This deep dive is all about Majin Buu.
Ah, Majin Buu. It's fascinating, isn't it, how that name Majin Buu, it sort of acts as this big umbrella term.
Yeah, it covers a lot.
Exactly. While the original series might have sometimes treated him as, a single entity, if you look closer, Majin Buu isn't just one villain. Not really. It covers a whole bunch of forms, and each one is basically a distinct individual. They've got their own personalities, their own goals, their own uniquely terrifying agendas.
That's a really good point.
And this is precisely why, as I think we'll get into, the Dragon Ball video games actually played this incredibly crucial role.
Oh, really? How so?
Well, they gave these different forms unique specific names, like Fat Buu, Super Buu, Kid Buu. It lets us actually distinguish them properly.
Right, otherwise it's just Buu did this, Buu did that.
Exactly. Without those distinctions, you kind of lose the nuances of his character evolution,
And that's precisely why this character is still so compelling. So our mission for this deep dive, basically, is to take a comprehensive journey through Majin Buu's complete chaotic evolution.
Okay, where are we starting?
We're going to trace his path right from his terrifying, primordial awakening and his really ancient origins.
Way back.
Way back.
Yeah.
Through every bizarre transformation, every horrific absorption, all the way to his purest, most destructive form.
Gotcha.
We want to understand not just the unbelievably destructive stuff he did, but why he was such a uniquely singular, utterly unpredictable, and, let's be honest, undeniably terrifying threat to, existence itself in that universe.
And, connecting this to the bigger picture, this deep dive gives you, the listener, a shortcut. A way to get really well informed about one of pop culture's most complex and dynamic antagonists.
Definitely.
You're going to have those aha moments, recognizing the sort of intricate design behind his seemingly random chaos. And the profound, lasting impact he had on the universe he inhabited. So, yeah, buckle up. This is going to be a wild ride through a landscape of pink, squishy, and utterly limitless terror.
All right, let's unpack this then. To truly understand Majin Buu, we have to start right at the beginning. And for him, that beginning stretches back into, really ancient times.
We're talking old, seriously old.
Yeah, eons, countless millennia, long before heroes like Goku or Vegeta, or even the Saiyans themselves, were even a glimmer in the universe's eye.
Right. Predates pretty much everything familiar.
Exactly. Majin Buu isn't just a villain who was, born or created in a normal way. He's described as this primordial entity, a force of destruction that just existed from the dawn of time, basically.
So less a creature with a past, more like a relic of existence itself, like living embodiment of chaos before order.
That's a great way to put it. And one intriguing aspect is that he wasn't cooked up in a lab or summoned by some dark spell gone wrong.
No Dr. Gero situation here.
Right. He was destruction manifest. And that immediately sets him apart from pretty much every other antagonist we've seen in the Dragon Ball saga.
Totally different league. I mean, think about Frieza. His evil was super personal, tied to galactic conquest. His ego.
Yeah, very goal-oriented evil.
Right. Or Cell, the bioengineered perfectionist, wanting to prove he was the best. Buu's destruction, it felt arbitrary almost, playful.
Childlike, even, which is terrifying in itself.
It really forced Toriyama, the creator, to shift the whole narrative focus, didn't it? It wasn't about defeating a calculated enemy with clear motives anymore.
No, it became about just containing this existential threat.
Exactly. The stakes changed. It wasn't about revenge or proving who's strongest. It was just survival against a living, breathing natural disaster.
A pink, squishy natural disaster.
Yeah, the worst kind. And eventually he was brought under control, or maybe contained is a better word, sealed away by this powerful wizard named BBD.
Right, BBD.
Which suggests, he wasn't really a creature you could reason with. More like a hurricane you could, with immense effort, maybe board up the windows against for a while.
Temporarily harness or suppress it, yeah.
Yeah.
His ancient, unthinking nature really makes him feel like a force of nature, not just a bad guy with a plan. He predates almost everything, making him fundamentally alien.
Yeah, utterly alien.
And speaking of harnessing and suppression, his initial reemergence to the main Buu saga was entirely orchestrated, wasn't it?
Oh, yeah. It was Bibidi,
Right.
Bibedi's son. Or maybe clone. The lore is a bit fuzzy there, but definitely the inheritor of Bibidi's will.
Right. Thousands of years after BBD managed to seal Buu away.
Mm-hmm.
Talk about opening Pandora's box. A cosmic level screw up.
Totally. And when he first popped out of that ball, the form we saw, for the one we usually call Fat Buu, thanks mostly to the game's clarifying thing, the contrast between how he looked and what he was, it was just jarring.
He looks so harmless. Pudgy, bright pink, almost goofy with that constant smile.
Like a giant, dangerous marshmallow. It was totally a visual trick, right? Designed to lull you and the characters into this false sense of security before the real terror hit.
So how could this, seemingly innocuous appearance house such utterly terrifying, limitless power?
It was deliberate subversion, I think, subverting every expectation the audience had built up from villains who looked menacing right away, like Frieza or Cell.
Good point.
The moment he woke up, his power display was immediate, overwhelming, and just casually devastating.
Yeah, he took out Dabura almost instantly.
Dabura, the king of the demon realm, presented as this huge threat, a real match for the Saiyans, and Buu just dismisses him.
And Gohan, too, even after his potential was unlocked.
Mystic Gohan, who was supposed to be like the ultimate power-up at that point, maybe even stronger than Super Saiyan 3 Goku. Buu just handles him effortlessly.
It wasn't about strategy or some grand plan back then, was it?
Not at all. It was just raw, overwhelming, almost instinctual force. He just sort of annihilated them with a casual flick of his wrist almost.
And that's exactly what made him such a unique threat profile right from the get-go. He wasn't driven by, conventional malice or some intricate evil plan like Frieza wanting his empire.
Or Cell wanting his tournament.
Right. His motivations, especially as Fat Buu, felt almost entirely childlike. Whims, gluttony.
Candy. Lots of candy.
Yeah, and this pure, almost innocent curiosity for destruction. He'd turn someone into candy because he was hungry, or blow up a city because the noise bugged him.
Or just because he felt like it, a fleeting moment of irritation.
That unpredictability, the sheer lack of a discernible pattern or logic to his chaos that made him incredibly dangerous.
Totally. You couldn't reason with him, you couldn't appeal to his ego, not really, and you definitely couldn't predict his next move with any certainty.
He was just a living embodiment of unthinking, arbitrary power.
Exactly, and even in that earliest stage, the series subtly hinted at his most incredible and frankly bizarre abilities. His regeneration was just astounding.
Oh man, the regeneration. You could blow him to bits.
Pulverize him into tiny fragments.
And he'd just pull himself back together instantly. Seamlessly.
It made him virtually immortal, right? So incredibly difficult to beat by conventional means. No amount of Kamehamehas or final flashes seemed to keep him down for long.
He just kept coming back.
And his fighting style, even then, was weird, unpredictable, almost playful in its chaos, but devastatingly effective.
Yeah, the stretching, the squishing.
Fencing around, it made every attack hard to land cleanly. It forced the Z fighters to deal with an enemy totally unlike any they'd ever faced.
Completely defied their usual understanding of combat and villainy.
He was less an opponent and more a living, breathing anomaly. A puzzle with no clear solution.
So that Fat Buu was really just the opening act, wasn't he? The very beginning of what became this truly bewildering and terrifying lineage of forms and personalities.
Absolutely. Which brings us to the central idea of the Majin Buu saga. That Majin Buu isn't just one guy.
Right. It's more like a state of being almost.
Kind of.
Right.
He is basically a series of distinct individuals. Each one is a result of absorption or expulsion, and each has profoundly different personalities, goals, and levels of pure evil.
And this is exactly why those video game names, Kid Buu, Super Buu, are so incredibly important for just talking about him clearly.
Totally. Without them, it'd just be Majin Buu did this, Majin Buu did that, and it just doesn't capture the dramatic, horrifying shifts in his character.
So how does this progression actually work? What's the first major shift?
Okay, so a key thing here is how the outside appearance really reflects these big internal shifts. The innocent Buu, that first form we saw on screen when Babidi revived him.
Yeah, the Fat Buu.
Right. According to the deeper lore, that form was actually the result of the original pure Kid Buu absorbing the Grand Supreme Kai ages ago.
So interesting. So the fat look came from the Kai.
Exactly. That specific absorption introduced this element of childlike innocence, maybe even a glimmer of benevolence and moral understanding. It was buried deep under the ancient destructive impulse, though.
So the Grand Supreme Kai's gentle nature basically tempered the original Buu, gave
Yeah.
him the plump look and the somewhat naive personality.
Pretty much. It held the pure chaos in check to a degree, but then came the really dramatic, pivotal split.
Ah, yes, the skinny gray Buu.
Right before that, this innocent Buu, the Fat Buu, underwent this intense internal conflict, a struggle between the Kai's influence and his own ancient, ingrained destructive nature.
Like good versus evil inside him.
Literally, this internal war eventually led to this moment where he physically expelled all the evil, all the malice from his body.
Whoa.
It was this stark physical manifestation of that intense internal struggle, and the result was two completely distinct entities, forever changed his path.
Okay, so who are the two entities?
One was Good Buu, also known affectionately, mostly thanks to Hercule, as Mr. Buu.
Mr. Satan, yeah.
Right. He was the direct result of innocent Buu kicking out all the concentrated evil. He became purely good in the process.
And he still looked the same. Still Fat Buu.
Intriguingly, yes. Physically identical to innocent Buu, still pudgy, still pink, but an entirely different life form, completely devoid of evil.
Wow. That's a huge development in the story. It shows even this creature of pure destruction could be influenced, could shed its evil.
And find a path towards actual benevolence. His surprising capacity for good was definitely influenced heavily by his interactions with Mr. Satan.
And the puppy, B.
And B the puppy. Crucial elements. It showed that even ultimate chaos could find a path toward, well, maybe not total redemption, but peaceful coexistence. Friendship, even.
And his legacy, surprisingly, went way beyond just fighting, right? Into the future of the universe.
Yeah, according to the lore from Dragon Ball Online, Good Buu later did another peaceful split. Created Mr. Buu, male, and Miss Buu, female.
To do what?
Specifically to start the Majin race.
Get out of here. So this creature, born of primordial destruction, becomes the ancestor of a whole peaceful, playful race.
Isn't that something? It's a unique legacy, way beyond just being a villain. Offers this surprising twist of hope.
That's incredible. But okay, back to the split. What was the other entity? The evil one.
Ah, yes. On the flip side of that dramatic split, we got Evil Buu.
The skinny gray one.
Exactly. The concentrated embodiment of all of innocent Buu's malice, his pure destructive impulse, physically manifested as that skinny, gray, much more menacing form.
And he was stronger than Good Buu.
Yeah, specifically noted to surpass Good Buu in raw power. He embodied all the sheer destructive potential that had been kind of held back within innocent Buu.
His gaunt, sinister look was a total contrast to Good Buu's rounder, more benign form. Signal his nature immediately.
Definitely. And his existence was crucial because he was the direct catalyst for the next, even more terrifying and strategically intelligent transformation.
Which brings us to Super Buu.
Super Buu. Yeah. For many fans, and definitely for the Z Fighters, this was the absolute peak of Buu's terror and strategic threat.
How did he form?
This form was the truly terrifying result of evil Buu absorbing Good Buu, basically eating him after turning him into chocolate.
Oh, man. So the pure evil, focused and calculating, consumed the benevolent side.
Pretty much. Leading to this really dark, cold, and utterly ruthless evolution. He looked kind of similar to Fat Buu again, physically, but don't let that fool you. This was not the whimsical Buu.
The personality change was huge, right?
Profound, immediately apparent and chilling. Super Buu was way more dangerous than any of his previous forms. He combined that immense, overwhelming power with a cold, calculated, terrifyingly strategic intellect.
That's the big difference from Fat Buu's random destructiveness.
Totally, and even different from Evil Buu's raw, unthinking aggression. Super Buu wasn't just randomly destroying or reacting, he was calculating, planning, manipulating, executing attacks with chilling precision and often a cruel taunt.
He set traps, didn't he? Like waiting in the hyperbolic time chamber.
Exactly, complex plans. And his use of absorption became chillingly tactical. It wasn't just about getting stronger anymore.
How so?
For Super Buu, it was a precise, often humiliating weapon. He consumed opponents not just for power, but to absorb their intelligence, their techniques.
Even their clothes, like Piccolo's cape and Gotenks' vest.
Right, often as a deliberate mockery. We saw it with his horrifying absorption of Gotenks, the fusion of Goten and Trunks, who was Super Saiyan 3 at that point, incredibly powerful.
Then Piccolo.
Absorbing Piccolo gave him that vast tactical knowledge and intellect. He started turning the hero's own strategies against them.
And then the big one, Gohan.
Yeah, in a truly desperate moment for the heroes, he absorbed Mystic Gohan, who everyone thought was the ultimate unbeatable power.
Each time, Buu just seemed invincible. Forcing the heroes to fight someone who could use their own abilities, their own strengths, even their minds, against them.
It was psychological warfare as much as physical.
Oh.
This was really the pinnacle of Buu's frightening versatility and adaptability.
Super Buu really epitomized that intelligent horror, didn't he? A massive escalation in the threat level.
Absolutely. He wasn't just brute force, he was a master strategist, a shapeshifter, a mimic. He turned every fight into this desperate struggle where even winning a small battle could make him stronger.
He really forced them into an inescapable corner, made them realize raw power wasn't enough.
Yeah.
They needed cunning, desperate measures.
Unprecedented cooperation just to survive. The whole story shifted from straightforward fights to this prolonged, agonizing war of attrition and wits against an ever-evolving nightmare.
But then, just when you thought it absolutely couldn't get any worse.
It did.
It did, thanks to a desperate, maybe slightly crazy, but brilliant move by Vegeta inside Buu's body.
Right, pulling out the others.
All the absorbed fighters, Gotenks, Piccolo, Gohan, even Fat Buu, were forcefully, painfully ripped out of Super Buu's system.
And when that happened, what was left was something truly terrifying.
The original.
The original, purest, untainted form of Majin Buu, Kid Buu, also known as pure Majin.
Okay, so why was this form, the smallest, most childlike one, arguably the most terrifying and destructive of all?
That's the chilling part. Kid Buu was completely devoid of reason, mercy, any discernible human emotion. He was purely, utterly chaotic, an unthinking engine of destruction.
He didn't strategize at all, did he?
Nope, he just annihilated. His first act after reverting back was to casually, without a second thought, without any emotion, just blow up Earth.
Incinerating everyone, just like that.
Just like that. Then he relentlessly pursued Goku and Vegeta across galaxies, a relentless, unreasoning force of annihilation. There was no motive beyond pure, unadulterated malice.
He just existed to destroy. And he did it with this creepy, almost innocent glee like a kid tearing up toys.
It was pure, primal chaos unleashed. His utter unpredictability and unreasoning nature made him terrifying beyond measure. There was no way to appeal to him, no weakness to exploit, no intelligence to outmaneuver.
The destructive force that is destruction.
Exactly. And it pushed Goku and Vegeta to their absolute limits, forced them to rely on the most desperate, universe-altering attack they had, the Super Spirit Bomb.
Gathering energy from everyone left in the universe.
Kid Buu really stands as the ultimate testament to the horror of power without conscience. A primal force, forever hungry, forever unfulfilled, an existential threat.
And this whole lineage of forms doesn't even stop with the main series, does it?
Not entirely. The conceptual breadth of Majin Buu has been explored further, especially in video games, which, again, is where we get clarity on many of these distinct versions and what they add to the lore.
Like what?
Well, for instance, Dragon Ball Z Shin Budokai, Another Road, introduced future Kid Buu.
From Trunks' timeline.
Seems like it. And this version was explicitly stated to be even stronger than the Kid Buu we saw. Surprisingly stronger even than Super Buu with Gohan absorbed.
Whoa! Stronger than Buhan. And Super Janemba, too.
According to that game's story, yeah. It really highlighted how Buu's potential for destruction was truly boundless, even across different timelines. Required something huge, like a family Kamehameha or another Super Spirit Bomb.
Wow. Yeah.
Then you have things like Xeno Majin Buu from Super Dragon Ball Heroes, an alternate world counterpart, showing how this chaotic essence just pops up across different dimensions, always causing trouble.
Right, the multiverse aspect.
And Clone Kid Buu, a replica made by Android 21 in Dragon Ball FighterZ, shows people trying to harness or replicate his unique destructive essence. Never works out well, does it?
Usually not. Any other absorptions we missed?
Well, there's Huge Buu, sometimes called South Buu. This was the unsettling result of the original Kid Buu absorbing the South Supreme Kai before the Grand Supreme Kai.
Okay, what was he like?
Caused him to grow to this immense, monstrous size. Hulking, maybe less intelligent, but still terrifyingly powerful. Lost some of the cunning of later forms, but gained sheer bulk. And that Shin Budokai game also threw in future innocent Buu, future good Buu, future evil Buu, and future Super Buu, basically showing how his evolution could play out differently in another potential reality.
Man, it's a lot to keep track of. But maybe the most surprising twist is Oob.
Ah, Uwub. Yeah, perhaps the most surprising and ultimately heartwarming incarnation, truly brings his story full circle.
And he's not a transformation or absorption, right? He's different.
But totally different. He's the human reincarnation of Kid Buu himself.
How did that happen?
After Kid Buu's ultimate defeat by the Spirit Bomb, King Yema, the judge of the afterlife, apparently granted Goku's wish and reincarnated the pure essence of Majin Buu into a human child, Yub, specifically with a good heart.
That's kind of amazing. Taking this being of pure chaos and giving him a benevolent, heroic future, a chance at redemption through a new life.
It really makes you wonder, doesn't it, about the nature of evil and redemption. Can this primordial force, once pure malice, truly be reborn good and become a hero?
Boop seems to provide a compelling, hopeful answer, a full-circle legacy that goes beyond just fighting into philosophical rebirth.
Yeah, it suggests that even the most inherently destructive entities might, through transformation and rebirth, contribute to good. A testament to the universe's capacity for balance, maybe. A profound counterpoint to Buu's destructive past.
Okay, so beyond all these forms and personalities, Buu possesses this unrivaled and truly distinctive set of abilities. That's what fundamentally set him apart, wasn't it?
Absolutely. It's not just about raw strength, though he had tons of that. It's about this unique, bizarre, terrifying arsenal that forced the Z-Fighters to completely rethink their strategies.
Couldn't just punch harder.
Exactly. Traditional methods just didn't work consistently. One huge aspect is his seemingly unlimited regeneration.
Right, the living Play-Doh thing.
Basically, his body is this living, malleable blob like protoplasm that can regenerate from almost any damage, even if he's pulverized to tiny molecular pieces.
Made him practically immortal. So hard to beat conventionally. Blasting, punching. Didn't keep him down long. He'd just reform, often with that creepy giggle.
Like it was all a game to him. It completely negated the Z-Fighter's usual strategy. Overpower and destroy.
You could blow a hole clean through him, scatter him across the landscape. He'd just laugh it off. The hole closes, the fragments pull back together with terrifying speed.
And then there's his signature move, Absorption.
Yeah. The worst.
He could literally consume his opponents, not just to get their power and strength, but also their intelligence, memories, unique techniques.
Making him this dynamically evolving threat. Every time he absorbed someone, boom, he's stronger, smarter, got new tricks. He turned the hero's own strengths and strategies against them.
It was truly a horrifying psychological warfare. How could they even begin to fight a foe who could literally eat their friends and immediately use their powers? Often better.
And his malleable body itself was a weapon, wasn't it?
Oh, yeah. His physiology let him stretch, flatten, contort, reshape at will, made him immune to a lot of physical attacks.
You couldn't punch him solid, couldn't grapple him effectively.
He'd just flow around it, flatten herself thin, stretch an arm across the battlefield to attack from nowhere, like fighting sentient, destructive chewing gum.
And let's not forget the candy beam.
Oh, the candy beam, classic Buu.
One of his most bizarre, yet highly effective abilities. Fired from his antenna.
With that playful little wink sometimes.
Instantly turns anything, including people, into candy. And then he just eats them.
It's cartoonishly horrific. Imagine being turned into a chocolate bar and consumed. It's almost funny in how cruel it is, but terrifyingly effective for immediate, irreversible elimination.
Added this unique layer of twisted playfulness to his overwhelming power. So different from villains who just blew stuff up.
And what's also fascinating, especially thinking about Good Buu, was his surprising ability to heal others.
Oh yeah, he healed B, didn't he?
Yeah.
And Mr. Satan.
Exactly. Adds another layer of complexity to his power set. Highlights that inherent duality within the Majin entity even before the split. Good Buu could mend injuries, restore vitality.
A power totally opposite to the destruction he was born from.
Showcase the influence of the Grand Supreme Kai, maybe? Hinting that even within chaotic forces, there can be a capacity for good, if it's nurtured somehow.
These unique powers just fundamentally changed the game for the Z-Fighters. They had to adapt entirely new strategies, right? Move away from just relying on power, speed, precision strikes.
Totally. Traditional combat methods targeting weak spots, delivering a final crushing blow, were often useless against a guy who couldn't really be killed conventionally.
It wasn't about finding his weak spot anymore.
No, it was about figuring out how to nullify, contain, or completely erase this force of nature that defied all the established rules of combat. The whole dynamic of their fights had to shift.
So looking at the big picture, Majin Buu across all his forms really challenged the heroes in ways no villain before him had.
Absolutely. He pushed them, in terms of raw power, constantly escalating that, but also in their very understanding of evil, what it means to face an ultimate threat.
They had to confront pure chaos, unreason itself, something you couldn't bargain with, couldn't intimidate.
Had no discernible plan or weakness to exploit beyond just overwhelming it with truly universal power, like the spirit bomb.
He was this overwhelming, limitless power, constantly transforming, absorbing, evolving, forcing continuous adaptation from his opponents.
Every time they thought they had him figured out, boom! New form, new absorption, an entirely new, even more dangerous threat, often using their own abilities against them.
A chameleon of destruction, constantly shifting the terms of the fight.
And this is exactly why his status as this distinct, unforgettable threat is so cemented in fans' minds, in the lore itself.
His legacy is just pure, unadulterated, unique chaos within the Dragon Ball universe.
He truly stood out. Pushed the narrative, the characters, the very concept of villainy to new extremes, forced the series to explore the absolute limits of the hero's powers and their capacity for desperate measures. He wasn't just a strong enemy, he was a philosophical challenge.
So we've journeyed through Majin Buu's twisted, terrifying, and utterly bizarre evolution. From that innocent-looking glutton wanting candy and causing destruction on a whim,
To the cold, calculating strategist absorbing opponents for tactical, humiliating advantage.
and finally to that terrifying embodiment of primal, unthinking destruction, Kid Buu.
He truly was and remains the ultimate nightmare of transformation and overwhelming, limitless power. A force that really redefined what a villain could be.
It really raises an important question for you, the listener, to think about after this deep dive. Given all these diverse personalities and forms of Majin Buu, which version do you think was the most terrifying to face, and why?
That's a good one. Was it the intelligent horror of Super Buu, or the pure, unthinking chaos of Kid Buu?
Did his chaotic nature, his unpredictability, truly make him Dragon Ball's most unique and compelling villain? Maybe even more so than the calculating Frieza or the perfected Cell.
That's a great thought to mull over. We'd love to hear your insights and reactions.
And if you were captivated by this deep dive into Majin Buu's chaotic evolution and the sheer unsettling terror of his unpredictable nature, definitely continue your own deep dives into fascinating topics.
Yeah, the world of knowledge is vast. Always more to explore, more aha moments waiting for you.
Thanks for listening, and remember, pure chaos is a force to be reckoned with, but understanding it, that's a power all its own.